In a previous video, I talked about the Home Assistant Connect ZWA-2 Z-Wave antenna. Now, this antenna, the way I have it set up today, plugs directly into the USB port on my Home Assistant device, which is a Home Assistant Blue. But they have come out with an experimental, and I'll stress experimental feature, that allows you to move that ZWA-2 antenna to potentially a better place within your home or your environment so it covers more of an area. They do this using Wi-Fi and an ESP32 or ESP chip. I'm going to try this experimental feature myself. It includes flashing a new firmware image on the device and then see how well it works in my environment. So let's get started. So let's dig into the blog for just a moment. I know some of you don't like me reading the blog. I'm not going to read it. I'm going to highlight some important points here. The first thing I want to point out is this is an experiment. If you want to keep a solid running Z-Wave network, don't try experiments on it, but it may work for you. I'm going to try it, and I can always roll back, which is the good news. So this is built on the ZWA-2, like I talked about. And just let me talk about a couple of things here before we get into it. So when you use a Z-Wave adapter within Home Assistant, it which relies on the ZWave JS add-on. It's using USB communication, and it uses a special serial protocol. It is possible, they say, to run this over your network, so serial over IP, but when they tested it, it revealed that it's not as reliable or as easy as they want it to be. Some of parts of the protocol are latency dependent. That means that if you end up having some sort of latency issue because your Wi-Fi network is congested, or it's where you're connecting to has a poor signal, it could actually break your Z-Wave network or cause a big issue with it. So not a good thing. And you're saying, well, why am I talking about doing this over Wi-Fi if it's not good? Well, they at Home Assistant needed to work on that latency sensitive issue. And what they did was use the ESP32 devices. And since the ESP32 is built into that ZWA-2, it has the horsepower and the antenna to handle the task. So they added Z-Wave support to ESP Home, and it allows it to talk to the Z-Wave chips. And then on top of that, they added the ability for Home Assistant and ZWave JS to communicate with Z-Wave adapters via ESP Home. So you can technically do this on other adapters since it's open source, any certified Z-Wave adapter connected to ESP32. But they wanted to ensure it's working well on the ZWA-2 before they start messing with that. And here's kind of the picture of it. So here's Home Assistant, and here's the Home Assistant Connect ZWA-2. So the Home Assistant is sitting on your Wi-Fi or sitting on your network, and then over Wi-Fi, it connects to ESP Home, which then connects to the Z-Wave chip inside of the ZWA-2. Now, if you're doing PoE version of this, then you would then have it connect to this PoE development board, and then that PoE would connect to the ZWA-2. And in this picture, I think it shows it. So this is the ZWA-2. This is the PoE board. This is an ESP32 S3 board. And so the Wi-Fi, I guess, connects, or actually it's PoE, it's not Wi-Fi. So your PoE cable would connect here, and then this would connect to your ZWA-2 via USB cable. So all of the Ether, or all of the IP stuff's handled inside of this board right here. Eventually, I might want to try that if I really think this is a good thing to do. But for now, I'm just going to do it over Wi-Fi. So I will actually do this mode right here. So here are some performance numbers. If you're directly connected to the USB, your minimum connection speed or throughput speed is latency is 4 milliseconds. The mean is about 5.3 seconds. If you're connected via Ethernet, which would be that PoE option, you would have a mean of about 25 milliseconds, and Wi-Fi is about 29 milliseconds. Now, obviously, it says here your results vary just depending on your environment, your connections, where you are in terms of your Wi-Fi network, how much stuff's going on there. So that's the kind of the overview of what they're doing with this and what they're doing or how they're making it work. So what I want to do now is I want to go through the process of actually taking my ZWA-2, which is in production, and crossing my fingers, we get it back up and running on the Wi-Fi network. I do want to show one thing here before we get to that. If you look at this page right here, you'll see that this is the first step in getting it to work, right? You can actually install the original firmware if you need to go back to this. So there's an option, which is the only thing that makes me comfortable in trying this is I can roll back to what it was before. And that's going to allow me to plug it right back into the Home Assistant Blue directly via USB cable. All right, so I want to actually start the process of doing this now, but first we need to do a backup of our current network. So if we go into this particular page again, this is, and I'll link it down below. This is now an interesting thing. They have a thing called Toolbox under Home Assistant, and you can't see that, can you? There's a site called toolbox.openhomefoundation.org, and this is all of their tooling that they have on that website. And this is the ZWA portion of that. So it allows you to do different things with it. Like I said, install the original firmware, install the portable ZWave firmware, etc. So when you click on one of these links, it takes you into the steps to do it. First, it gives you the requirements. You definitely need to have Home Assistant, and you need to have 2025 10.2 or newer. You need to have the ZWA-2, obviously pointless if you don't. And it says USB-C to C cable. I think that is for the little board, the extra board that I showed you in the picture, connecting back to Home Assistant. Now, if I'm going to connect this to my computer, which I do, if I have a USB-C port on my computer, I'll hook it to that, but I don't. I have a USB-A, so I'm going to connect it to that. So in my case, USB-A to USB-C. All right, so these are the steps. You'll make a backup of your ZWave network, and that is done on, not that page, on this page here, and you can click on it here by going to the link, and it will actually take you to that link or to that page, and you'll do a backup. Download the backup at the bottom of the page, it says. So this is my ZWave network, and if I go down here to the bottom, I will click on download backup here, which you can almost see. Let me fix that real quick. So here it is right here at the very bottom of the page. We'll click on the download backup. It creates it. It takes a minute depending on how long or how big your setup is here. And it'll do the backup, and then it'll download it to your browser. So I have the backup stored directly on my computer, which you can almost see at the top of my screen here. It's a little 40K file. So once you do the backup, the next step is to come down here and you need to connect your ZWA-2. And it says it will either be ZWA-2, ESP32S3, or USB JTAG/serial debug unit. Okay, so the ZWA-2 is plugged in now. So let me click on connect. It should show up. And it does say the Nabu Casa ZWA-2 on COM7, so we'll connect that. And it's going to now connect to the ESP32 bootloader. The bootloader mode is activated. Select the ESP32 serial port to continue with the firmware update. And I'm going to select the port. And my first issue here is no compatible devices are found. So it says bootloader mode activated. Now there is a flashing light on there. So let's see if I do it again. No, things are there. So I'm going to unplug it and plug it back in. Let's see if that makes a difference. So I've unplugged it, plugged it back in. It probably takes it out of bootloader mode, which means that's a problem. So let's go back, and still has a flashing light on it. And there's no compatible devices found. Okay, so let me go back a step and see if I have, or multiple steps, I guess. So I'm going to try to connect it. It sees it as COM7. We'll connect it again. Set it, bootloader mode is activated. Select the ESP32 port. No compatible devices found.
A few moments later.
My friends over at Home Assistant Nabu Casa, who I can talk to sometimes, actually told me that I have an early version of this device, the ZWA-2, which most of you probably do not have. If you've got an early version, you know who you are. This is something where you have to actually open up the device. You have to bridge GPIO 0 and ground, and then it shows up or allows you to do this. It goes into bootloader mode. Also, when I did that, you'll also notice that when I click on Connect, instead of saying ZWA-2, it now says the USB JTAG serial debug unit. So it's now in bootloader mode. So then I can connect to that, and hopefully I'll be able to actually do, see, now it's installing it right away. So now it's done that. That was super simple. I'm going to actually power cycle it, and then it's going to reboot. As it says here, we're waiting for the firmware to start. And now I need to set up my Wi-Fi credentials. It says I can skip it, but I won't be able to use the unit until it's connected to Wi-Fi. So I'm going to configure my Wi-Fi credentials. I don't know what that is now. And we'll try this. Hopefully this is it. All right, let's try COM1. I don't know if that's the one I should be connecting to now. That did not show up before the firmware update. Improv Wi-Fi serial not detected. Okay, so this is problem number 2. This may be related to the early release version of this device I have as well. I don't really want to skip it because I can't use it without it. So let's just try again. I've got an option for COM port 1. So if I unplug this, so I don't know what COM port 1 is because that's now showing up here. It's definitely the JTAG unit. Okay, so I did a second reboot essentially. Maybe it didn't work the first time. So I'm going to connect it to Wi-Fi. Just before I go, I unplugged it once and you saw the errors. I unplugged it and plugged it back in again, and then I have the option for this. So maybe I was too fast to plug it back in. So I'm going to connect it to Wi-Fi. I'm going to find my network. Wow. So my neighborhood is awash in Wi-Fi. I don't even know who these people are, but I can guess where this house might be, and it's not very close. Let's just pick a Wi-Fi network, connect to it. I don't know why Google keeps asking me for this stuff every time I open a browser now, but I'm not going to use it, and it's in my way. Get out of my way. All right, so now it's provisioning and connecting up to everything. And all right, I guess we're provisioned. And now it says ESP firmware is updated successfully. So to be honest, if you don't have a pre-release version or an early access version like I have, then you probably won't have the issues that I ran into. You basically be able to update the firmware to what I just did and be done with it. So now the question is, what's next? So the next step is to open Home Assistant, check for discovered ESP home devices on the integrations page. So let's go over to Home Assistant. All right, so I'm on the integrations page now, and I do have the Home Assistant Connect ZWA-2, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to go ahead and let me just read the directions to make sure I'm doing it the way it says. On the same page, once ESP home has been configured, look for this discovered ZWave device, configure it. So it says configure the discovered device. So I'm going to configure it or add it. Do you want to add this device? Sure. And then I'm going to put it wherever I want to put it. Well, I guess it's in that room somewhere. Okay, so there it is. And now the next step, following the directions here, is once on the same page, once ESP home has been configured, look for the discovered ZWave device, configure it. I guess I go to the ESP home page, and I'll go to the ZWA-2. Is it on here? ZWA. There it is. All right, it says configure it. I'll click on that. Allow the device to perform Home Assistant actions. When it says configure, I assume that's what we want to configure. Option successfully saved. Okay. I'm looking at my ZWave network. I don't see anything working. This step is for, okay, if you are managing your own ZWave, find the IP address. Okay, so I'm going to go to integrations on, I'm using ZWave JS UI. So I'm going to go to that, actually. I'm going to go to integrations. I'm going to go back to integrations. I'm going to go to, why does it want me to add it again? Okay, well, this is interesting. And remember, this is I'll whack my microphone here. This is experimental. So the things I'm seeing are experimental. If you're willing to accept some of the anomalies, I don't know that it's supposed to go like this. It seems like I do one step and then, oh, you know what? Let me back up. So if you look at the directions here, and this is probably what I missed. Open Home Assistant, check for discovered ESP home devices on the integrations page, configure it on the same page. I left the page and then go back. So back on the integration page, it's actually doing what it's supposed to. Once ESP home is configured, look for the discovered ZWave device and configure it. So there are two options here. There is the custom installation and recommended installation. So if you're managing your own server, find the IP address of the ZWave ZWA-2 on your network. Configure the ZWave JS server to use the following serial port. I'm going to try just the recommended installation and see what it does. See if it picks up my information. The fact that I'm using ZWave JS UI may complicate this step, but we'll see what it does here once it does its installation add-on stuff. Right now, all of my ZWave stuff is not working, so I'm hoping it just does its thing here. If not, I'm going to have to go to ZWave JS UI, and I'm going to have to go in and put in the IP address where it says here, and put that in there, or this kind of thing, ESP home, yada yada. So it's the light flickered over here, loading next step for ZWave. I mean, I could have broken my whole network here, but we'll see. See what happens. And it's done. Migration successful. Migration, that concerns me. I don't see any ZWave devices on my network working. So let's just see. Initializing. So what is it doing here? Okay. So let's see if I can do something different. Okay, this is a little concerning because I've now broken my ZWave network. Okay, it's trying to connect to the local host on port 3000. Let me try to do something different. Okay, so use a socket and it's on 183. So I need to go determine what the IP address of my device is. I wonder if I can go to 183 directly. Let's just try that. No. ZWA-2 is on port 180 or on IP of 183. So I wonder if I can go back in here and update ZWave JS UI to actually talk to this. Oh, it's not started. I stopped it earlier when I was messing with this. So what I thought would be a simple thing, obviously, is going to be a little bit more complicated. I have to say again, this is all experimental, so don't blame anybody for messing up your network if you choose to do something with the network here and mess it all up. I'm going rogue here and just seeing what I can do. All right, so the web UI is, or the thing is running. So there's no way it can connect to anything because I disabled or undid it. So I wonder, I don't know if I can do this with ZWave JS UI, to be honest, because I don't have any way to select that port unless I just type it in manually. I don't think I can do that either. Let's try. Nope. Maybe. 2.3.1.10.183. I don't know if it'll let me save that or not. Well, it actually let me save that. But, oh. Huh. Wow. And I see stuff coming back in. Actually kind of a little bit surprised and shocked that I was able to type in that IP address and everything into ZWave JS UI and have it do something. So my devices are all back online, and I'm also getting notices from my different things that everything's resetting. Now, one thing that's different is I have it sitting on the desk right here. I'm pointing with my finger. You can't see it over here on the desk. And this is not where it was before. So one of the things they tell you to do is if you've moved the ZWA to a different location, go to the ZWave config panel on Home Assistant and hit rebuild network routes down here. Yeah, so you can rebuild the routes. I probably won't do that. I'll probably move this to a different spot and then rebuild the routes then. But the point is that everything that should be working should be status, all right? These are sleeping. This one's off, but that one always has weird issues after a restart. And that one's not plugged in yet. That one I'm not using. I should remove that. This one I'm not using. And that one I'm not using. So everything in my network is up and running. I am now running this over Wi-Fi. The test is to push a button and see how fast things react. I don't know if I have anything in this room that I can see. So if I go into my dashboard in Home Assistant, and I'll show you that in just a second as soon as I get there. Let's check the locks first. I'm going to unlock the front door. That was almost, that's as fast as it is when I'm plugged directly in. You don't see an indication yet, but I heard it. If I turn on the kitchen lights, where are they at? Kitchen lights should be, it's instantaneous. I'm going to turn on the game room lamp. Instant. May even be faster than what it was before. I mean, it's instant. So I'm now running the ZWA-2 over Wi-Fi. My Wi-Fi access point, there's one over here in the garage. It's pretty close. It's probably connected to that one. And there's one across the house in another room. So I don't have a super overly congested Wi-Fi network, I don't think. Whenever people get home and start using tablets and stuff like that, we'll see. But right now, anything I do is absolutely instantaneous. When I turn a light on or turn it off, there's no difference between what I saw directly plug in and what I'm doing here on the experimental piece. So I just wanted to go over that, see what it looks like. Time will tell. I mean, I'm going to let it run. We'll let it bake like this for a few days, and we'll see if there's anything that comes out of it. But yeah, we're now running the ZWA-2 on Wi-Fi, and I can take it anywhere in range of my Wi-Fi and have it talk to my Z-Wave network. Obviously, make sure where you put it is in a decent Wi-Fi signal area. If it is not, you probably will have some issues or at least some latency. But we'll see how it works over the next few days or weeks. And yeah, I'm pretty, this is pretty cool. The next thing would be to play with the PoE, but I'd have to order that board and do that. And then maybe I will, maybe I won't. We'll see. So with that, thanks for watching. I hope this was entertaining, if nothing else. And if you like what I do here, subscribe, hit the like button, and we'll see you on the next video.